Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, there it is, the day to be excited as Nintendo fans. We now have officially confirmation that a mainline Nintendo Direct presentation will take place tomorrow morning, as you can see the following tweet from Nintendo of America, which reads, "Tune in on September 14th at 7 a.m. Pacific time. We are doing early morning live stream featuring roughly 40 minutes of information focused on Nintendo Switch games releasing this winter." So the rumors were true. We can stop speculating on whether or not if we are going to see a Nintendo Direct in September. It is historically an event that Nintendo never misses since they've really gotten into the habit of forming Directs to begin with. And I personally am super excited for tomorrow morning and will be live streaming it here on the channel, so make sure you tune in. Now, in terms of what games we may be able to expect at this presentation, you might be somebody who's been keeping up online with all of the various leaks from the Twitter account Pioro, which, to give you a brief rundown, we've talked about him previous times in the channel, but this person is somebody who accurately leaked multiple titles at the last Nintendo Direct, the release date and title of Everybody Want to Switch ahead of its official announcement, and most recently the N64 release for Excitebike 64. This is somebody who likely has access to either the American or Japanese Nintendo YouTube account and can see certain trailers that go live, but I do want to stress the fact that they did not leak everything in the last Direct, meaning that they may not be able to see the presentation in its entirety. So even if you've seen some leaks and rumors online of certain games being at this presentation, don't feel like you know the entire situation, because there are still bound to be some surprise, completely unannounced titles like the Princess Peach game and the Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. We had no clue of those games walking into the last Nintendo Direct, and I'm willing to bet that there are going to be some unannounced, unleaked games that will absolutely be at the showcase that will be a very hype announcement. Now, to first quickly correct some of the expectations around some of the franchises we talked about in the most recent Nintendo Direct video on the channel, where games from the FZero franchise are claimed to be here, Pioro did end up liking a tweet that claimed that it was an FZero 99 game, which very well could be a hint towards this being the replacement for Pac-Man 99 whenever it goes off the service in October. And I am very hopeful that Nintendo, if they acknowledge F-Zero, it is not only in the way of an FZero 99 game, because that would be a big letdown for me. I definitely want to see them either do F-Zero GX Remastered, the long-rumored title, or something entirely new for the series. And I personally have been team F-Zero GX Remastered this entire time, and I would hate to see Nintendo not read the room like this for F-Zero fans and just give us a 99 game instead of anything tangible within the franchise. So here's hoping that one is not the only F-Zero announcement we will see, but the other big franchise that everybody was hyped for online, of course, was the big return for Donkey Kong. And many of us, when we saw that first tweet from Pioro that was Donkey Kong rolling in from the Super Mario Bros. Movie, you thought that Donkey Kong's going to be returning with his own game of some sort, or at the very least, maybe we would see something like Donkey Kong 64 announced for Nintendo Switch Online. While this is not necessarily ruled out or off the table by any stretch of the imagination, the game that Pioro is actually referencing has been since corrected to be a Mario versus Donkey Kong game, because he replied to that tweet saying that you see the character Donkey Kong, but who is he fighting? And then he tweeted a picture of Mario, of course, with Donkey Kong and Mario in a fight. Then responding to a fan, we're saying, are the minis back? And he said yes. This sounds like we were getting yet another iteration of Mario versus Donkey Kong, which we will have to see what the game looks like. I'm not necessarily hyped for this title if that is all it is, and it's really similar to what we saw from the past of the franchise, because I was never anybody who got into those games. But I guess I'll give it a fresh look this time around if we do see that officially announced, the Mario versus Donkey Kong game in some way, form, or fashion. But similar to the F-Zero leak, I certainly hope that this is not the only way that we see DK show up in this presentation, but it does at least set the tone to pull back some of those expectations in terms of seeing brand new major iterations for these franchises. Again, I hope we're proven wrong whenever this thing actually airs, but it does sound like don't expect the most from F-Zero or Donkey Kong at this event. Now from there, there's supposed to be a Wii/DS remake that are tied to each other, as that was the tweet in question, and Pioro has been on this streak of liking tweets that seem to be the correct guesses from the audience, and that one seems to be another Code/Trace Memory. I am not familiar with these games at all, but they are a point-and-click style story adventure game from my understanding. And maybe if you're somebody who has nostalgia for those games, you'll be excited for this announcement. I personally couldn't care less about it, but we will have to see whether or not that shows up at this event. From there, we have the safe predictions. Expect to see something Mario Wonder for a brief period of time. We know that Princess Peach game will likely be getting its title, and it very well could be Princess Peach Showtime from Pioro's tweet. And I also think we'll see Mario RPG at this event. Maybe a look at WarioWare Move It, stuff that we've already seen, but we need to see more marketing on. That's all safe bet stuff. But from there, I do think that the expectations around what might be at this direct presentation really go up a notch, because we don't know what to expect in terms of franchises like Metroid. Up to this point in time, we haven't heard any references about Metroid being at this event, and I'm very hopeful that maybe we could see Echo's remastered Shadow Drop, similar to what we saw with Prime 1 remastered, and then with Pikmin 1 and 2 in the summer direct, and hopefully, if we're extremely lucky, we get some kind of acknowledgement and or gameplay for Metroid Prime 4. Although I'm setting my expectations very low on that personally, I would love to see Nintendo give us a glimpse and a look at what is around the corner with Prime 4, but I also think they may not do it until they release Prime 3 Corruption Remastered, and maybe that's the event that we finally learn the launch date. And I'm personally setting my bets on more of a either final Switch game or even a cross-generational style launch for Nintendo Switch 2 to really showcase what Metroid Prime 4 can do from a visual perspective with more powerful hardware. I think that that could indeed be the case, and that might mean we don't hear about that game at all until early or mid 2024 at the soonest. Nintendo Switch Online will absolutely be at this event in some way, shape, or form. September is always historically the biggest direct for Nintendo Switch Online updates, but I want to temper your expectations and say don't expect new consoles to be revealed for this thing. We have never seen Nintendo do multiple console editions in the same calendar year, and you have to keep in mind that we just got the Game Boy family of systems back in the February Nintendo Direct, so I personally don't expect to see anything in terms of a new system. Could I be wrong and they swerve us with something like a Sega Dreamcast edition? That would be awesome and very possible, but I don't necessarily think it's on the table. I think Nintendo will do updated content roadmaps for things like N64 and GBA and maybe even the Game Boy family of systems, but don't expect to see GameCube here at this event. I don't think we see GameCube until Nintendo Switch 2 launch time at the soonest. I think that it is going to be saved for the next gen successor to the Switch, and we shouldn't expect to see it on this console at all. Of course, as part of the expansion pack as well, we will likely see a Wave 6 trailer for the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass DLC. This puts a bow on the DLC. We got a couple more characters to find out about. Pauline is likely one of them, and the last round of stages, and then that puts a bow on the Mario Kart DLC, which does beg the question, what's Nintendo going to do with new DLC content from here on the expansion pack? Might we see that rumored Smash Bros return in some way, shape, or form with like Fighter Pass Volume 3, and maybe they throw on all of the Fighter Passes as part of the expansion pack with DLC as an additional bonus? It's a possibility, but I'm not holding my breath for it. The reason that that is circulating online is due to some Amiibo restocks in addition to Smash Bros GameCube controller restocks, and that's only ever historically happened when we get some kind of update for Smash Bros, but that one's kind of more of a wild card prediction for me. I hope it's there, but it very well might not be. Now, the only other series that I'm going to go over is part of my personal predictions to show up in some way, shape, or form, and I'm not setting all of my expectations on it. I am still holding on some level of hope to that rumor that something Zelda is coming in 2023. Whether it's just an announcement for a new Zelda game, maybe in the 2D world, or even just a port or remaster that we're waiting for, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, anyone? But anyway, whether it's something that gets announced with a quick turnaround time, or if it's something that we will learn will be coming in the early part of 2024, I think there is room for something else Zelda. I'm not totally putting it off the table, but I will just be surprised to see Nintendo do anything major with the franchise, considering it is still the launch year of Tears of the Kingdom. We did, of course, recently get the confirmation that Tears of the Kingdom will not be getting DLC for the foreseeable future, unless if they decide to revisit that. It doesn't sound like they will, so maybe Nintendo does want to supplement us Zelda fans with another game to pick up over the holiday season, and in a perfect world it will be Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. I'm so tired of talking about those games maybe being set to be released on Switch one day, and just pull the band-aid off and do it, Nintendo. But I could also see them saving that for more of a launch period title for the next generation Nintendo Switch hardware. So we will again have to wait and see on what Nintendo has up their sleeves with Zelda, but I would love to see some supplemental support, whether it be with more ports and remasters or just a brand new 2D or even 3D traditional iteration that's developed alongside of the bigger open world, open air Zelda games that we're going to expect to see released in the franchise from here, because clearly those take quite a bit more development time, 6-7 years now. So us Zelda fans do need something else within the franchise to hold us over while we're waiting for those larger development times. And I really think outside of that, guys, there's maybe one or two other small announcements, maybe some franchises we didn't mention do show up here, and then likely some third-party stuff that we're going to see focused on at the event. Sonic Superstars gets another trailer and more in-depth breakdown and some other third-party things, but I don't think that anything massive or game-changing will be at this event. Remember, we are at the tail end of the current Nintendo Switch's life cycle, and so expect a lot of ports and remasters and simpler projects to be showcased at the end of any Nintendo console life cycle, because clearly the devs have to start shifting focus to developing for what is next. And I think that's what's going on with 3D Mario, maybe even 3D Donkey Kong at this point. And a lot of the bigger AAA Nintendo titles will indeed be saved to sell that console. But I really want to hear from you guys at this point in the video, your personal thoughts and predictions around the upcoming Nintendo Direct and what you hope we see from this presentation. Out of any of the leaked games that we know about from Pioro, are you excited for any of them? Do you think there's a chance that these leaks aren't accurate this time around, even though they have a flawless track record up to this point in time? And what games that have not been leaked are you most hopeful to see at the event? And lastly, let me know where you're setting your hype levels overall as we walk forward into this Direct presentation this week. So regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, which is on screen right now. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.